We're back at conflict of laws in the Bill of Exchange Act, requisites of forms, 159 1, subject to subsections 2 and 3, where a bill drawn in one country is negotiated, accepted, or payable in another. The validity of the bill with respect to requisites in form is determined by the law of the place of issue, and the validity with respect to requisites in form of the supervening contracts, such as endorsement, acceptance, and acceptance under protest, is determined by the law to the place where the contract was made. Unstamped bills. 2. Where a bill is issued outside Canada, it is not invalid by reason only that it is not stamped in accordance with the law to the place of issue, conforming to the law of Canada or United States. 3. Where a bill issued outside of Canada conforms with respect to requisites in form to the law of Canada, it may, for the purpose of enforcing payment thereof, be treated as valid as between all parties who negotiate, hold, or become parties to it in Canada. Law applicable. 160. Subject to this act, the interpretation of the drawing, endorsement, acceptance, or acceptance under protest of a bill drawn in one country and negotiated, accepted, or payable in another is determined by the law of the place where the contract is made, but where an inland bill is endorsed in a foreign country, the endorsement shall, with respect to the payer, be interpreted according to the law of Canada. Law applicable. 160. Subject to this act, the interpretation of the drawing, endorsement, accepting, or accepting under protest of a bill drawn in one country and negotiated, accepted, or payable in another is determined by the law of the place where the contract is made, but where the inland bill is endorsed in the foreign country, the endorsement shall, with respect to the payer, be interpreted according to the law of Canada. I think I just read that one. Anyway, law as to duties of holder. I guess it's sounding all the same except for the end parts. 161. The duties of the holder with respect to presentment of a bill for acceptance or payment and necessity for or sufficiency of a protest or notice of dishonor are determined by the law of the place where the act is done or the bill is dishonored. Currency. 162. Where a bill is drawn out of but payable in Canada and the sum payable is not expressed in the currency of Canada, the amount shall, in the absence of an express stipulation, be calculated according to the rate of exchange for sight drafts at the place of payment on the date a bill is payable. Due date. 163. Where a bill is drawn in one country and is payable in another country, the due date thereof is determined according to the law of the place where it is payable. Official images and electronic presentment. Definitions. 163. 1. The following definitions apply to this section in section 163.2 and 163.6. Bank has the same meaning as in section 164. Eligible bill means a bill that is of a class specified by a bylaw, a rule, or a standard made under the Canadian Payments Act. Official image. In respect of an eligible bill means an image of that eligible bill created by or on behalf of the bank in accordance with bylaws, rules, or standards made under the Canadian Payment Act, together with any data in relation to the eligible bill prepared in accordance with those bylaws, rules, and standards, and includes a display, a printout, a copy, or any other output of that image and that data created by or on behalf of a bank in accordance with those bylaws, rules, and standards. Status of official image. 163.2 An official image of an eligible bill may be dealt with and used for all purposes as though it were the eligible bill. The electronic presentment. 163.3 Despite anything in this act, a bank may present for payment an official image of an eligible bill electronically in accordance with bylaws, rules, or standards made under Canadian Payment Act, and if it does so, the requirements of this act respecting the presentment for payment of an eligible bill are deemed to have been complied with. Discharged by payment. 2. The eligible bill and its official image are discharged if payment in due course is made by or on behalf of the drawee after the electronic presentment for payment of the official image of the eligible bill. Presumption. 163.41 In the absence of evidence to the contrary, a document purporting to be an official image of an eligible bill is presumed to be an official image of the eligible bill. Admissibility. 2. An official image of an eligible bill is admissible in evidence for all purposes for which the eligible bill would be admitted as evidence without proof that the official image was created by or on behalf of a bank in accordance with the bylaws, rules, or standards made under the Canadian Payment Act. True copy of contents. 3. In the absence of evidence to the contrary, an official image of an eligible bill is presumed to be a true and exact copy of the content of the eligible bill. Effect of destruction. 163.5 If an eligible bill is destroyed in accordance with bylaws, rules, and standards made under the Canadian Payment Act, and there is an official image of the bill, A person's rights and powers in relation to the eligible bill are not affected by reason only that the person does not possess it. B. The destruction does not affect any person's right, powers, duties, and liabilities in relation to the eligible bill, and C. The eligible bill is not considered to be lost or to have been materially altered or intentionally canceled. Warranty. 163.61 A bank that creates or purports to create an official image of an eligible bill or on whose behalf an official image of an eligible bill is created or purported to be created warrants that the official image or the purporting official image as the case may be, was created in accordance with bylaws, rules, and standards made under the Canadian Payment Act, and that it uh, accurately presents the eligible bill. Damages. 2. Any person who has suffered damages as a result of a breach of the warranty has a cause of action for damages against the bank. Part 3. Checks on a bank. Definition of bank 164. In this part, bank includes any member of the Canadian Payment Association established under the Canadian Payment Act and every local operative credit society as defined in that act that is a member of a central as defined in that act that is a member of the Canadian Payment Association. Checks 165.1. A check is a bill drawn on a bank payable on demand. Provisions as to bills apply. 2. Except as otherwise provided in this part, the provisions of this act applicable to a bill payable on demand apply to a check. Check for deposit to account 3, where a check is delivered to a bank for deposit to the credit of a person and a bank credits him with the amount of the check. The bank acquires all the rights and powers of a holder in due course of the check. Presentment of payment 166. 1. Subject to this act, A, where a check is not presented for payment within a reasonable time of its issue and the drawer or the person on whose account it is drawn had the right at the time of presentment, as between him and the bank, to have the check paid and suffers actual damage through the delay, he is discharged to the extent of the damage, that is to say, to the extent to which the drawer or person is a creditor of a bank to a large amount than he would have been had the check been paid, and B, the holder of the check with respect to which the drawer or person is discharged shall be a creditor in lieu of the drawer or person of the bank to the extent of the discharge and entitled to recover the amount from it. Reasonable time. 2. In determining what is a reasonable time within this section, regard shall be had to the nature of the instrument, the usage of trade and of banks, and the fact of the particular case. Authority to pay 167. The duty and authority of a bank to pay a check drawn on it by its customer or determined by a counterman of payment, or B, notice of the customer's death. Cross checks. Cross generally 168.1, where a check bears cross its face an addition of A, the word bank, between two parallel transverse lines, either with or without the words not negotiable, or B, two parallel transverse lines simply, either with or without the words not negotiable. That addition constitutes a crossing, and the check is crossed generally. Cross specially. 2. Where a check bears across its face an addition of the name of a bank, either with or without the words not negotiable, that addition constitutes a crossing, and the check is crossed specially and to that bank. by drawer. 169. 1. A check may be crossed generally or specially by the drawer, by holder. 2. Where a check is uncrossed, the holder may cross it generally or specially. Varying. 3. Where a check is crossed generally, the holder may cross it specially. Words may be added. 4. Where a check is crossed generally or especially, the holder may add the words not negotiable by bank for collection. 5. Where a check is crossed specially, the bank to which it is crossed may again cross it specially to another bank for collection. Changing crossing. 6. Where an uncrossed check or a cross check generally is sent to a bank for collection, it may cross it specially to itself. Uncrossing. 7. A cross check may be reopened or uncrossed by the drawer writing between the transverse lines the words pay cash and initialing the same. Material part. 171. A crossing authorized by this act is a material part of the check. Altering crossing. 2. It is not lawful for any person to obliterate or except as authorized by this act to add to or alter the crossing. Cross to more than one bank. 171. Where a check is crossed specially to more than one bank, except when crossed to another bank as agent for collection, the bank on which it is drawn shall refuse payment thereof. Liability for improper payment. 172.1. Subject to subsection 2. Where the bank on which a check crossed as described in section 171 is drawn nonetheless pays the check or pays a check crossed generally otherwise than to a bank, or if crossed specially otherwise than to the bank to which it is crossed, or to the bank acting as its agent for collection, it is liable to the true owner of the check for any loss he sustains owing to the check having been so paid. Payment in good faith and without negligence. 2. Where a check is presented for payment that does not, at the time of presentment, appear to be crossed, or to have had a crossing that has been obliterated, or to have been added to or altered otherwise than as authorized by this act, the bank paying the check in good faith and without negligence shall not be responsible or incur any liability, nor shall the payment be questioned by reason of the check having been crossed, or of the crossing having been obliterated, or having been added to or altered otherwise than as authorized by this act, and of payment having been made otherwise than to a bank or to the bank to which the check is or was crossed, or to the bank acting as its agent for collection, as the case may be. Protection in such case. 173. Where the bank on which the cross check is drawn in good faith and without negligence pays it, if crossed generally, to a bank, or if crossed specially, to the bank to which it is crossed, or to a bank acting as its agent for collection, the bank paying the check, and if the check has come into the hands of the payee, the drawer shall respectively be entitled to the same rights and be placed in the same position as if payment of the check had been made to the true owner thereof. Not negotiable cross. 174, where a person takes a cross check to that bears on it the words not negotiable, he does not have and is not capable of giving a better title to the check than the person from whom he took it had. Customer without title. 175, where a bank in good faith and without negligence receives for a customer payment of a check crossed generally and especially to itself, and the customer has no title or a defective title thereto, the bank does not incur any liability to the true owner of the check by reason only of having received that payment. When we come back, we're going to hit part 4, promissory notes. Promissory notes. Promissory notes.